change your house, change your car, change your partner. And there's nothing wrong with wanting those things, but most of us are coming from a place of unhealedness. So even our desire to obtain those things is usually coming from a place of dissatisfaction and hoping that it will bring us to some version of ourselves that we will like better, that we are more at peace with, or just bring us to a reality that is different from the one that we're experiencing. And so once again, it's like cutting the bullshit, you know? Like, I literally believe that shadow work, ego work, integration is the best law of attraction stuff, because all of us are like millionaires with soul partners, depending on what your preference is, with like the most incredible bodies. Like, I don't care, whatever you think is like the best version or the best, most high vibrational existence, which is true, like a healthy body, healthy relationships, healthy home, abundance. We are all entitled to that. That's our birthright. So that is our natural existence. We need to be asking ourselves, why isn't that my reality right now? Traumas, blockages, feeling unworthy to receive everything it is that you want, these things need to be addressed, because it's not hard to get a new car. It's not hard to get like an attractive partner, and it's really not hard to change your body. Like, if you really look at it, like, these things are all very obtainable. The question is, why are you out here chasing those things? Why aren't they coming to you? Because that's how the universe works. It's all vibrational. You don't have to do shit to get what you want. Truly. You're gonna have to put, like, you have to work and co-create with the universe. Like, my videos are not gonna make themselves. I had to get my ass up here, you know, do a little bit of makeup, and I have to edit this after, and I still wanna make it like a good creation. That's where the co-creation process is. But to think that you have to bust your ass for 40 years or somehow like slave away to work to get what you want is the biggest illusion that we have ever been born with. So, coming back to this point, I believe that everything it is that we want and the highest version of ourselves, which do exist, are already existing within us. It's about asking, why isn't that my existence right now? Well, shadow work, ego, and integration. So I really just want to be sharing my experiences and just how I do that. Hey guys, it's Sarah and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a video on my intentions for this channel. So yeah, as you probably know from my previous video, I have been wanting to make a YouTube channel for a very long time, and I think that kind of what happened is that I had several ideas and intentions over the years, and then my spiritual awakening just kind of happened, and everything, and myself included, and all of my intentions just for life have really shifted ever since then. So along with that comes different intentions and a whole new approach to life, and also the way that I'm going to express myself on my YouTube channel. Honestly, you guys, I just feel like prior to approaching YouTube, I kind of thought that there would be this version of myself that would be better and more ready and somehow more complete. And I'm learning that that is really not the case. I am always coming back into my truth, which is coming back to my own completion. So basically, I'm just kind of realizing that I want to take you guys along with me on my journey of constantly remembering my worthiness and constantly remembering my wholeness and my completion, because a big part of my own healing journey and like awakening was having lived in a state where I thought that that aspect and that version of myself was outside of myself. And that's still something that I'm working through, but with that being said, my entire approach to YouTube is changing, and it has changed because I'm just realizing, like, I cannot present a version of myself to you guys that I'm not. So I really just want to work with where I'm at right now. I'm very deep in my healing. I had a spiritual awakening 3 years ago, and it's hard. It's like, I did not think that I would be getting emotional, but it's okay. It's like a part of it, you know? So I think that like my spiritual awakening literally just destroyed who I thought I was And it also destroyed the versions of myself I secretly hoped I could become, because I just feel like I've never been... I'm all about crying, but I'm going to keep it together just for this. I guess I'm realizing that, like, it's just me. And I've said this before in my previous video, but it's just a big truth that I am constantly processing, and it doesn't happen overnight, and I never ever would want to make it seem like that. So first and foremost, my biggest intention, because I have a list, is to be really honest and open with you guys. And I'm going to show, I don't want to clip like too much of this out, because for me to clip things out is for me to just try to construct this like YouTube worthy version of myself. And I know that like my audience that I am really intending, and I trust my soul tribe that I will be attracting, you guys deserve honesty, and you guys deserve truth, because I deserved honesty and I deserved truth. I still do, but like especially I'm thinking back to the version of myself 3 years ago that was like always watching and like consuming content on spirituality and growth and ascension, because once you have an awakening, that shit, literally, it's an absolute crack in the foundation of your entire perception of reality and who you think you are. So to the version of myself 3 years ago that was just had a spiritual awakening, that was deep in the dark night of the soul, like thrown into an insane like period of depression, and I was consuming all of this content and just really educating myself on the spiritual path. And there's so much information on like out there on the spiritual path and growth and healing and shadow work and wounds and trauma. Like there's so much information, but I still feel like it's always coming from like a little bit of a theoretical approach. And there are wonderful, you know, sources out there that are like definitely more on the vulnerable side, but I still feel like, and it's not a bad thing, I'm not saying this is really bad in any way, but all of the books that I have been reading and educating myself on and kind of connecting to are all written from a place of someone who has really already gone through the shit. Like they are an expert on the shit. And it's beautiful, right, that they're able to pass on their wisdom, but I am at the point where I have a lot of wisdom, but I am still, and it's not like this process really ever ends, but I am deep in the process of healing and integrating it still myself. And I just really want to be honest with you guys from the get-go that that is where I'm at right now. And I've made so much progress, which is why I'm even able to get my ass up here and do this. Not to say that it's not really difficult and I don't feel nervous and I don't feel vulnerable doing it, but I just want to be very honest with you guys and myself about how I'm feeling, because this is the human experience, right? And I just don't, like, I'm just so, honestly, I'm just really sick of this big thing in the world that we live in right now of like the highlight reel and just talking about shit like years after. And don't get me wrong, like I don't want to show everything, and I won't, because a big thing I'm learning in my life is boundaries and still honoring myself. But with that being said, I feel like this world, and just the version of myself 3 years ago, what I needed most back then was someone to kind of hold space and show their own vulnerability and hold space for the darkness that I was experiencing then. Because it's almost like if everyone is coming to you from this place of light and love and expertise and healedness, it can feel very lonely to be the person that just started healing. It can be very lonely to be the person that just awakened, and you have so many feelings and emotions and darkness and ego and parts of yourself that you don't understand and that you feel very overwhelmed by. And if I'm an expert in anything, you know, I would say I've spent 3 years on my journey so far, moving through all of those things and familiarizing myself with all of those things. I have not transcended them necessarily, but I have become very familiarized with them, and in certain elements I have really, like, I actually have to give myself a little bit of credit here. I have definitely been integrating and grounding myself in many aspects of the healing path and the spiritual path, because I do believe that there are certain things that, you know, I have really developed strongly within myself, but I'm still working on everything. You know, I'm still working through everything. And if we're being quite honest, you know, I've had 3 mentors. I would say 2 specific mentors in my entire life. And both of them have been deep in their healing just as much as I am now. And they have been mentoring so many people, creating so much content. So I'm trying to, right now, I guess what I'm trying to do by exposing my own vulnerability and laying everything out on the table with you guys is bursting the fucking bubble. Because there is a bubble. And I don't think, oh, stop recording. There's a bubble, and I don't think it serves anyone, especially those that are on, like, especially newly awakened people and those that are on the spiritual path. It doesn't serve any of you guys. It doesn't serve me to feel any sense of separation between where we are at now and between the people that are teaching us and enlightening us with their wisdom. And that's not to say that, like, I'm not so grateful that there are many, like, really gurus out there, like, you know, very strong teachers, Eckhart Tolle, Osho, Sadhguru, those are some of my favorites, Muji, Buddha, you know, like Jesus Christ, like these complete ascended masters. I'm obviously very grateful for their, like, existence. That's it. I'm just grateful for them and their own ascension, and like they've really become enlightened, truly. And I'm grateful because they are now figures that I can align myself to energetically, and I can really still look up to. And it's nice to look up sometimes, because after all, that's where we're headed. So, you know, it's this balance between, yes, I'm so grateful that there are these incredible experts that we can almost use to develop trust in the path, in the process, know that there is still light and love and bliss ahead of us. And we can almost use that to cultivate hope. But at the same time, like, that only serves, in my opinion, it only serves us, or it only serves me to a certain degree. Because at the end of the day, like, you know, I would really, I'm just speaking from what I wanted. And I also feel like this channel is going to be very healing for me, just by being more vulnerable and bursting the bubble for myself, because my ego is not happy about this. I'm just going to make that very clear. My ego does not like any of this, because my ego is still praying for that bubble to exist, and I'm bursting it. And so I do feel like it serves me, and I really believe that it will serve humanity on any level, and the beautiful soul tribes that I hope to attract, that I trust I will attract, by being someone and sharing my path, you know? And, you know, by kind of just being more grounded and exposing these lower vibrational lessons at the same time, and just by showing these steps and lessons along the path that a lot of people refer to casually, or like shadow work. Shadow work is this big thing now. And once again, when things are big things, when things are only referred to from like a very outside, distant perspective, it can create so much like fakeness and create distance from your own actual involvement with that thing in and of itself. Let me see if I can explain this better. Shadow work seems like a big scary thing. The shadow seems like a big scary thing. Even transcending the ego can feel and be a big scary thing. And what I'm learning is that I've been doing shadow work my entire life. I have been trying to kind of work with my ego my entire life. And on the spiritual path, I became a lot more conscious of it. And then it was like, oh shit, like, it's almost like you were already doing things, more or less, usually very subtly and usually subconsciously your entire life. But on the spiritual path, you do it with intention. And when we do it with intention, in combination with these concepts and these coaches and these YouTubers throwing things at you, like, this is the one reason you're not manifesting, because you haven't done the shadow work. It's like, well, what the fuck is shadow work? Well, you know what? It's not as big and crazy as it seems. You've probably been doing it your entire life, and for us to think that even these steps on enlightenment, this is how I felt. I'm just really being honest, like on my experience and my perception of certain things in the spiritual path, they seem so big and grandiose, and that's another ego trap. That's another that doesn't serve us, because we feel like these healing steps and perspectives and techniques are somehow outside of us. So that's another intention. I have a list, but I guess I'm just really spilling all of my intentions and just getting everything off my chest. So another big intention is just to let's just take this a couple steps down a notch. I want to ground what it means to heal, what it means to ascend, and what it means to realize your own enlightenment and learn how to love yourself, because we're literally in this together, you guys. That is ultimately the vibration and the frequency I think me and my soul want to offer to humanity and offer to YouTube, is just this idea of we're in it together. I'm not coming to you guys from a top-down perspective. But at the same time, I am really confident in my ability to teach still, because I do love teaching. I love explaining. I even I did a biology degree, so I'm still finishing it up. And so one of my favorite things in the whole world ever is learning a concept inside and out, and not becoming perfect in it either, but really learning it and then explaining it in a way that no one ever explained it to me before, aka making the lesson and that chemistry, I'm thinking about chemistry problems, making it so fucking easy, simplifying it to a point where it's dude, how did I not understand this? Well, it's because it was never explained to you like that before. So that's the thing that I'm very passionate about, is just entering this mode of really taking difficulties. Shadow work is, still hard, and it's dense, and just the healing process and the awakening process is literally, in my opinion, the most challenging thing for anyone to ever do. On the hierarchy of Maslow's needs, you see the physical, this is emotional, spiritual. Spiritual is the hardest thing to obtain. Enlightenment, realization. So shout out to us for even embarking. A lot of us were probably thrown into this process, but we went with it. We flowed with it. A lot of people, and sometimes we still do, resist it and try to go back to our old unconscious ways, and that's still a learning lesson in and of itself. But hey, this is a big fucking thing that we're doing, so let's give ourselves some credit. So I feel like I kind of lost my train of thought because I was just expressing so many things at the same time. And another thing I want to get better at is just expressing myself with more fluidity and more confidence, and allowing myself to be seen for who I really am. So yeah, but I was going on about the teacher thing. So yeah, I have I'm not going to say I've mastered anything, but I have really learned certain lessons and techniques about the healing path and the awakening path, because raising your consciousness is a process, right? It could be really broken down into a little bit more of a scientific method kind of thing, but still highly integrated with the fact that it is a human experience, right? So is this element of structure to growth and healing, which I really talk about on my other channel, Heal with Sarah. I want that to be a really great place where I can express the more explicit, formal lessons that I have learned in and out, that I'm still learning and integrating, but I want to pump those out for you guys, so you have a better idea of the kind of work and the frameworks and structures and truly methodologies that I'm applying on this channel. Because on this channel, I'm just showing you guys how I do the work that I'm referring to on my other channel. So yeah, it feels really good to get that out there. Okay, so for channel intentions, the first thing that I kind of already talked about, my first intention is to shed light on what the healing path actually looks like. Once again, for many years, I felt very discouraged because I didn't feel like I was healing enough. I didn't feel like I was healing because I still experienced a lot of darkness, dense negative emotions, a bunch of insecurities on my path. And so it was almost like, I don't feel enlightened kind of thing. And that, it's that kind of discouragement is just another like ego trap. So I just want to cut the bullshit and share with you guys what my healing journey looks like, and a big premise and belief that I hold on to for like as I go through life more and more, but especially with this channel, is the fact that I am a human being. There's like nothing special, really. All of our souls are special. So in my special soul, amongst all of ours, I incarnated into a human existence. And what really happens is like the soul consciousness incarnates into the human existence, and we're born into such a low density world that does not know unconditional love. It doesn't really know peace. It does not know harmony. It is lacking in truly so many aspects, or even starved in so many aspects. So we have the soul, which is pure love, pure consciousness, pure light, non-physical of course, comes into this physical reality, and we are like raised in a world that's very dark. So basically the whole point of awakening is to remember our truth and come back to love, taking into consideration and working with the fact that this world is also needing to learn the same thing, but trusting that because we are all one, we are all connected, we are just one universe, that when you heal yourself and when you work on yourself, you are doing it for everyone else, not for everyone, but you are doing it like through everyone else, right? You know what I mean. It's like as you raise your own vibration, it's impossible not to send ripples out into the rest of the universe. And what this really means is like, I'm just a human being, and I'm just sharing what I believe is the human experience that everyone is going through on similar levels. So you guys may not have the same wounds and traumas as me, and I don't expect anyone to, but at the end of the day, we're all doing the same thing. We are learning how to love ourselves again. We are remembering to come back to love, remembering that we are love. So my second intention is to show and bring attention to shadow work, ego, and integration, and show how I do it. So really, like, it's interesting. The spiritual path is all about love and light, but what's the most ironic thing about that is the fact that in order to embody love and light, you need to experience that which is not love and light. We are always awakening to the wounds and the traumas and the unconsciousness, aka areas that are lacking love within ourselves and our psyches and our physical bodies, our emotional bodies. And so what that really means is the entire path of healing and enlightenment is bringing light to the darkness, through the darkness into the light, aka in the darkness remembering you are the light. So it's like walking into a dark room and learning how to turn the light bulb on. And so it's interesting because it's like I don't know, I feel like the spiritual community is very warped, to be quite honest, with like the law of attraction, and it's like we're using all of these life hacks to feed our egoic unconscious desires. And there's nothing wrong with having desires, right? But it's like, using the law of attraction to like either change your body, change your house, change your car, change your partner. And there's nothing wrong with wanting those things, but most of us are coming from a place of unhealedness. So even our desire to obtain those things is usually coming from a place of dissatisfaction and hoping that it will bring us to some version of ourselves that we will like better, that we are more at peace with, or just bring us to a reality that is different from the one that we're experiencing. And so once again, it's like cutting the bullshit, like I literally believe that shadow work, ego work, integration is the best law of attraction stuff, because all of us are like millionaires with soul partners, depending on what your preference is, with like the most incredible bodies, like I don't care, whatever you think is like the best version or the best, most high vibrational existence, which is true, like a healthy body, healthy relationships, healthy home, abundance, we are all entitled to that. That's our birthright. So that is our natural existence. We need to be asking ourselves, why isn't that my reality right now? Traumas, blockages, feeling unworthy to receive everything it is that you want, these things need to be addressed, because it's not hard to get a new car. It's not hard to get like an attractive partner, and it's really not hard to change your body. Like if you really look at it, like these things are all very obtainable. The question is, why are you out here chasing those things? Why aren't they coming to you? Because that's how the universe works. It's all vibrational. You don't have to do shit to get what you want. Truly. You're gonna have to put like, you have to work and co-create with the universe. Like my videos are not gonna make themselves. I had to get my ass up here, you know, do a little bit of makeup, and I have to edit this after, and I still wanna make it like a good creation. That's where the co-creation process is. But to think that you have to bust your ass for 40 years or somehow like slave away to work to get what you want is the biggest illusion that we have ever been born with. So, coming back to this point, I believe that everything it is that we want and the highest version of ourselves, which do exist, are already existing within us. It's about asking, why isn't that my existence right now? Well, shadow work, ego, and integration. So I really just want to be sharing my experiences and just how I do that. And I'm learning with you guys, right? So once again, I've been on the spiritual path for 3 years. You guys may be a couple steps ahead of me, and me a couple steps ahead of you in certain aspects. And I believe that that is just really how we all, like, I'm just imagining all of us like holding hands, like no man left behind kind of thing. I trust that you guys will help uplift me in certain areas, and I just hope I can do the same. So yeah. And number 3 is learn how to be and love myself and different aspects and archetypes that exist within me. This is a major one. So something that I've been coming to terms with over the past couple months is, okay, you know, we have the ego, which is a shapeshifter and always taking on different forms. That's true. And we have this, you know, idea of enlightenment, that of this truth of who you are, this beingness, this nothingness, this pure channel kind of thing. And that's actually a new definition of it. Okay, spoiler. So basically, I was thinking for a long time on my spiritual path for years that I just have to be myself. And that was this one fixed nothingness state. And that's another ego trap based on a spiritual truth. So it's like, okay, yes, there is the truth of who you are, but that doesn't mean that that's this one fixed version of yourself. So with my intention, because what I'm learning, especially as a divine feminine, this is something that my mentor has been teaching me a lot, or did, because I've done the course now, but you know, she was always telling me how as a divine feminine, I do have different personalities, like we all do, but especially the energy of the divine feminine is an energy of flow and creation. So as that, I have so many different personalities, and not in the ego sense, but like I have different energies that flow through me. Sometimes I'm feeling a little bit more masculine, sometimes I'm feeling a little bit more playful, sometimes my inner child comes out, sometimes I feel a little bit more gangster. Like these are all energies that none of them are in and of themselves me, but I am the channel that allows all of these energies and archetypes to flow through me. So there are so many different aspects of Sarah. And I'm sure that on this video, I mean, you probably have already seen it a little bit and will continue to see that, like, although I am never this one fixed version of myself, the essence of me and my soul, and I think just like my intentions and my light stays the same. So it's almost like the soul is always asking itself, like, in how many different ways can I express my light and my love? And there are thousands. So I also always, you know, felt ashamed in my life because I do have different personalities. and I'm able to present different versions of myself, which was a little big defense mechanism that I lived with for a big part of my life. But now it's like, you know, it's one thing to do that from the ego and to like fake versions of yourself or force them, but now it's like, okay, so I'm just flowing through things. So yeah, growing up, I always felt like a little bit embarrassed. I'm like, oh no, like what side of myself do I show? And naturally, I think I just kind of tend to match the vibration of whoever it is I'm in an interaction with, which can be tricky sometimes. You know, it's like, don't absorb the energy, but it's okay to adjust yourself to your surroundings. That's kind of how evolution works, right? It's not about intelligence, it's about, or like strength, it's about adaptability. So it's, for me, something I'm really hoping to, just like a personal goal for myself, is to embrace all the different versions of myself and trust the fact that I'm always meeting new versions of myself. So sometimes, like, when I watch videos back, you know, it's like my ego's like, oh, I don't like that one, I don't like that one, like I need to cut those people out, I need to cut that version of myself out, like cancel, cancel, cancel. And so, you know, a big lesson that I'm learning, and I'm sure a bunch of you guys are going to be able to relate to this, no matter your gender, because we all have divine feminine and masculine energies within us. For me, I sense it's just more of like the ratio, so I feel more confident in expressing that as a divine feminine. But it's really coming to acceptance of the fact that we are not one energy that moves through us. We are the channel through which those energies move. So the true you is almost the you that allows all the yous to flow through. Extra points for rhyming. So yeah, and my intention number 4 is to honor my own life more. The simplicity of life, okay, no. Honor my own life more, the simplicity of life, and create an appreciation and love for every aspect of my life, no matter how human. Cooking, errands, responsibilities, fashion, health, and fitness. So even creating this channel, I'm like, ugh, what do I do? What do I want to focus on? That was kind of one thing. And even I would say, okay, no, I wanted to go into that train of thought. I'm going to go into another train of thought because I kind of already addressed that one. But basically, even creating vlogs for you guys, I'm like, a part of my ego is like, okay, where's the good stuff? Like, let's give them the good stuff. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, this is my life, you know? Brush your teeth, cook, clean, do errands, responsibilities, you know, decide what clothing I want to wear outside, interact with the cashier, you know, smile at a puppy and a baby, talk to my family. Like, this is kind of it. And once again, it's just, I'm feeling more and more grounded in what it means to be human and bursting this bubble of like love and light. So like, so I'm bursting this fake bubble of a glamorized version of my life that I thought I would be presenting to myself, because even just putting more attention on the mundane things, it is both destabilizing and relieving, and after I process and heal through it, grounding for me. And it has been, and it is, to come to terms with the fact that life really is chop wood, carry water. It's like a common statement. I don't know if you guys heard of it. It's a quote. And it goes like, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. So it's like, you know, prior to enlightenment versus after, or healing or growth or awakening, the technical human aspects, physical responsibilities that we have in the three-dimensional world does not change. The three-dimensional world doesn't really change in terms of what we need to do to survive, but we change, and our experience and relationship and interaction and perception to, of, and with the three-dimensional human world does change. So and it's not to say that like your external reality won't completely shift as you awaken and maybe destruct a little bit, like relationships, all of these things, goals, because they were attached to like a false version of yourself. And it's also definitely to say that your external reality only well, through the destruction, it's an uplifting. You are rising, everything is healing and purging, if you will, sometimes. But that being said, you still gotta do basic things like taking care of yourself, feed yourself, sleep, you know, go to the dentist. Like, these things are not to be neglected just because you realize you're a spiritual being. It's like you're a spiritual being having a human experience, okay? And that's something that has been really, I want to say game-changing, but it's more like that truth smacked me in the face a couple times, and it still does to this day, depending on how willing I am to learn and embody my lessons. But it's, once again, you could feel very grounded, I guess, ungrounded, is what I'm trying to say, after a spiritual awakening. Because you're having all these concepts, your perception of yourself is changing, you're realizing you're not just human. You're realizing you are a spiritual being, you are love and you are light. But I'm at this point in my journey where the spiritual ego and bypassing, not gonna like make any statements like that, but I'm at the point in my journey where I'm feeling definitely more called to reground and reintegrate everything I learned when I was up floating in the air a little bit, even with the spiritual ego and all of that, and consuming so much content on spirituality, vibration, healing, third eye, chakras, all that. Like angels, the angel realms, channeling, communication. Now it's like, okay, girl, you're still a human. Your soul came here to be human. So through this channel, I really intend on, I think it's what it is it's giving me an opportunity to redefine and approach my regular human chop wood, carry water responsibilities with more love and as the spiritual being that I know I am. So before pre-awakening, I was a human being doing human things, and then as the spiritual ego, I was a spiritual being doing spiritual things. And now it's like, okay, I'm a spiritual being doing human things and spiritual things. Or, take it a step further, I'm a spiritual being in the human experience doing human things in a spiritual way, through spirit. Yeah, it's deep. So yeah, I'm basically developing, honoring my own life more, the simplicity, creating an appreciation for and love for every aspect of my life. So just not feeling, another thing is like I felt very stuck before, like, I felt very stuck because I felt like, oh, this human thing, I still have to do this stuff, and it's like, that's just more ego, like to think that this isn't enough. To think that, you know, preparing your own meal could be such a fulfilling experience if you allow it to. Washing yourself, cleaning, exfoliating, putting on a little face mask can be the most spiritual thing that you do. More spiritual than meditating, because what you're doing is you're allowing yourself and you're bringing spirit to the 3D. That's a big lesson I've also learned. It's like, the three-dimensional world is not to be ignored or neglected or disrespected, because that's also the whole point of Earth, right? This is a 3D reincarnation. So let's not be out here thinking that we have to transcend it. We have to transcend our attachment to it. And then after we do that, we realize Earth is a three-dimensional playground, and we are meant to play. So this channel, I really think, has already been, and it's teaching me how to play. Let's keep going. So my last intention is to create a community for us to connect authentically. And once again, like, I'm hoping that by expressing myself and being really honest with myself, like, let's just put that on the table as well. Like, when I'm honest with YouTube and I'm honest with the world, what I'm really doing is being very honest with myself. And I just hope that, like, that experience will give permission for other people to do the same with themselves. And, you know, obviously, like, I really want to create a community for several reasons. I think that it is so needed in the world because I needed that. And I really, really needed that 3 years ago, especially on the darkness that people seem to be referring to as if it's this outside thing. And it's like, okay, well, how do I get inside? And no one was really able to walk me through it. And I've had so many therapists in my life. And even then I felt like they were, for lack of a better word, not coming from an ego sense. They were not superior, but it felt like they were on a high horse. It felt like they were on a platform, like petting me, like it's gonna be okay, you're doing great. And sometimes that's great, you know, like to have someone in your life that is like at a better, like not a better place than you, but like is not even experiencing what you're experiencing remotely, you know? Obviously they're still human, I'm sure they get pissed off and triggered in their own challenges, but like they are way past, and I don't even think that they've actually, some of them have ever even experienced depression. So it was like they were really coming to me, and it felt like there was a glass wall between us, literally too, because a lot of this was on Zoom. But it just felt like there was this glass wall where it's like, they were looking at me and it was like, not like they were ever looking down on me, but you know, I could see that they were oftentimes coming to me with a very theoretical approach. And I'm going to give you an example. So a girlfriend of mine actually was seeing a therapist, and you know, she was talking about one particular, I think, aspect of trauma. And what the therapist did was share her screen, go onto Google, like with my friend, like watching all of this unfold on Zoom. She goes into Google and the therapist types in like how to do trauma work, and then goes to the first article, and then it's like, okay, you can do this journaling, you can do that. And it's just like, you guys, like, I'm not here to throw shade on anyone. I'm just here to be honest. Like, that is exactly this type of top-down approach that I think is really symbolic to all of humanity in most of the ways that it has ever approached anything. And it's kind of obvious it does not work. I don't want to feel, when I'm watching someone, you know, unless it's really just like a figure that is distant from me and they're fucking enlightened, it's like, I don't know, I just want to feel connected to people. And that's another thing, that brings me to another thing. It's not like I want to feel like bonding over sadness or darkness, because I'm not about trauma bonding. It's more like, can we hold, and can I just hold space for me to exist in the state where I'm at, in the darkness sometimes that I'm at. Because through that mentality, I'm not identifying with darkness. I'm not identifying as someone who's broken or a victim. What I'm saying is, I am witnessing areas of myself that are learning how to love, and I'm learning how to bring love to the darkness within me. I'm learning how to move through shame and all of that. And so I feel like, you know, and I've seen this on other people's channels, I've seen this in the world, I've met people that are so open and raw. Like, we all know, like, when you meet someone, it's like, shit, like, you're just so cool with, like, how human you are. And that energy, it's an energy thing, it like automatically gives you permission to do the same thing. It's like when someone isn't, for example, as insecure as something as you are, and they just casually mention something that you're insecure about, but they play it off like, oh yeah, like this is a thing that I have. I'm like, oh shit, like you just did that. You just referred to something that I'm terrified of acknowledging within myself, and you're just coexisting with it. That right there gives me permission to do the same. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. And something else I want to say is, like, I have felt so lonely my entire life, because I think this is true kind of for everyone, subconsciously, like, we feel so human, and we don't really, I think many of us know what unconditional love is and what it feels like just to be able to live and breathe and exist and feel safe in doing that and feel safe in your own beingness. And so with that for me always came a loneliness and this deep, deep longing to connect with other people through authenticity. And that is something that I really want for this channel. And, you know, for all of my viewers, I just really hope that like this can be a space for that. And I just for myself really want this to be a space for that, because, you know, I want friends. I've always wanted friends in my life, but not really, because, well, actually I never really felt safe enough within myself to show people my true version of myself, to show people my truth. I always felt like a part of me was hiding or just like pretending in most interactions that I've had, which is like also the path of awakening. You know, you can sense your own inauthenticity, which is coming from a place of fear. So it's totally okay, and I don't blame myself for any of that. I'm very compassionate, if anything, because I understand why I behaved the way I did, why I presented myself the way I did. And so being in this space that I'm finding myself now, which is one of more openness, I feel more, I would say, like ready and like eager and longing to connect. But it's more like that longing is now coming into fruition by opening my heart up. And it's like, this is just who I am. And you know, I'm really excited because I just, you know, I want to meet you guys. And it's like, even if you're watching like this video, like, you know, after this video, like write down like your name and where you're from and something that like either resonates with you or something that you're really looking forward on healing an aspect of yourself. You don't have to get personal. You can get as personal as you want to get. And yeah, because it's like, I guess, you know, we're all on the path of awakening. So it can feel very lonely as well, because we do live in a world that is largely unawakened and unconscious and still identified with like the ego and like the three-dimensional world. So the path of awakening can also be very lonely because you're waking up, but with that comes you're waking up from a mass sleepiness. So it can very easily, like, you're looking around for like support and this and that, and it can be hard to come across that. So I just want to say, like, I'm so here for that, because not only have I been feeling like that for a very long time, thankfully I have like developed, you know, some incredible soul connections along my path that helps me feel anchored on my spiritual path and helps, you know, validate my spiritual path, which is like a tricky word to say, but it's true. You know, it's not like about validating externally in the old way, but it is, I think, really important. Just in, like, we're humans, we're social creatures. Community is, I think, a part of our human needs, just like social connection, right? So it's not so much validation, but that it kind of is. It's like feeling seen and feeling heard, and almost just because this path is so destructive, and your entire world gets flipped upside down, and you don't often know what's real and what's not anymore, what's truth and what's not, because you are awakening to all the illusion that you've been living in. It's very important, and it really was for me, to just feel like all of my experiences were real and normal, you know? Because the nature of spiritual growth can feel so unreal, because there is a matrix, right? There is programming, there is a very strong perception, a three-dimensional egoic perception of the world that is kind of anchored throughout all of humanity, which is why waking up feels like you're like, oh, why what? Y'all are telling me this isn't it? Y'all are telling me I'm spiritual. Like, I'm love? Like, what do you mean? Me? So yeah, like, it's like you're popping your head out, and like sometimes in the distance, you can think you see someone else pop their head out, and it's like this channel, you know, could be like a wave, like, hey you, I see you, you're doing great, I love you, you know? So yeah, that's just kind of it. And yeah, those are my intentions. And once again, ultimately my biggest intention, like these are my intentions for my channel, but my intentions of what I'm doing, like I'm doing and I'm showing you guys like my life, and I'm showing you how I flow with Sarah. Well, what am I flowing towards? You know, what's my intention for the current with which I flow? Well, my intention for the current is ultimately to learn and come back to and return to love and myself and my truth and my light. And that comes in many ways, shapes, and forms, but that is at the very core of, honestly, my entire life. Like, that is my biggest life purpose right now, is just to come back to love at all times of the day. And like I said, sometimes, and a lot of the times, well, if you're coming back to love, then where are you coming from? A lack of love. What is that? Darkness, because love is light. Right? So the process of coming back to love has to do with darkness. It's a yin and yang. So another thing that I want to preface is that because I am being very authentic, once again, I'm very conscious of the fact that it goes against many perceptions and misconceptions of what enlightenment and growth and healing are all about. So it is about bursting this bubble of love and light, because love and light is authentic and it's truth. And you know, when it's all about truth, it's also about really being very honest with yourself about the darkness, the wounds that you have, and what needs to be healed. So like I said, for a while I was trying to come to you guys with this love and light perception, and it's like, but that's not love and light. Like, love and light is courage and bravery in acknowledging and getting your hands dirty with everything that isn't love and light. So yeah, yeah, I love you guys so much. I think that's all for today. This has been quite a long video, but like, I don't care. Personally, I'm also feeling, you know, I feel like there are certain like, ugh, this is what I should be doing, this is what I shouldn't be doing. And it's like, I don't want to play by any rules kind of thing. I really don't. If anything, the whole point of awakening and awakening the collective conscious and healing the collective, healing as a collective, with the collective, through the collective, is breaking all the rules. Because that's literally a part of like learning love. Like, the rules are actually kind of a lack of love, or they're representative of a mindset that comes from a lack of love or lack of everything, like lack mindset. So yeah, there are a lot of rules to break, and I can talk a lot as well. So I don't know, am I like justifying myself here? Maybe a little bit, but I also just want to like put it out there. Like, no, like I love to talk. I just kind of want to, this is a big part of the thing for myself, like just becoming more confident in accepting and acknowledging and understanding how I want to do things. Because I deserve it, you know, we all do. Just like, wait, no, like this is how I want to do it. This is my craft, and let's see where it goes. So yeah, long videos I can feel are already going to be a big thing, which I love personally. Like, there's some YouTubers that I wish they could make hour-long video, like hours and hours. Like, I could just spend time with you all day. So yeah, I love you guys. I really do. And I'm excited to meet you. I really am. Okay, bye.